Hello, my little readers. Welcome back to the Story Treasure. And today we are going to read The Healthy Sports Day by Roger Hargreaves. So let's get started. Little Miss Somersault was very excited. It was almost time for the annual Happy Land Sports Day, and she loved nothing more than being active and having fun with friends. Lots of the Mr. Men and Little Miss were busy training and limbering up for the big day. Little Miss Quick was training for the 100-meter sprint event, but she knew she'd have stiff competition against Mr. Rush. Last year, he accidentally won the race when he crossed the finish line first on his way to the shops. Imagine how fast he would be when he was meant to be taking part. Mr. Strong was limbering up for the weightlifting event. He started each day with a huge plate of eggs. Then he worked his way around the house lifting heavier and heavier things. He could even lift the whole house. Little Miss Somersault's long legs made her perfect for many different events. She had excelled at gymnastics and hit the top spot for high jump. But this year, she really wanted to try the long jump. Every year, Mr. Bounce bounced into top spot and she wanted to see if she could jump as far as him. Like most of her friends, Little Miss Somersault had a training plan. She had lots of different activities to build up her strength and endurance, and she always warmed up before she exercised to prevent any injuries. Little Miss Tiny wished that she could stretch as high as Little Miss Somersault. The park was very busy, with so many friends training for their events. They were doing press-ups and pull-ups, jogging and jumping, skipping and sprinting. Mr. Busy and Little Miss Busy were up to their 100th lap in preparation for the marathon. Mr. Bounce was as springy as ever, bouncing up through the air without a care. When Little Miss Somersault saw how far he could jump, she decided to push herself a bit harder. Little Miss Somersault used her long legs to run in great strides, and then she jumped as far as she could. But she landed on her ankle, and it really hurt. "Ouch! I don't think I can stand on it," she cried. Luckily, Mr. Bump was at the park too, and he knew all about treating injuries. So, you may already know Mr. Bump is always having little accidents, which is why he is always covered with bandages. "I think you have sprained your ankles, Little Miss Somersault," said Mr. Bump, and he kindly helped her hobble home. "Thank you, Mr. Bump," said Little Miss Somersault gratefully. She felt very foolish for pushing herself too far. Mr. Strong and Little Miss Somersault were getting ready for the party too, but they were busy limbering up to the help with the entertainment. It looked like there will be a very energetic gymnastic performance. Mr. Bump helped Little Miss Somersault to sit down, and then he began to explain everything the doctor had taught him. PRICE stands for protection, rest, ice, compression, and elevation, said Mr. Bump. First, you should protect the affected area from further injury. Sometimes you need to use a support, but this isn't necessary for a sprain. But you must rest, which means that you need to avoid exercise and reduce your daily activity. "Oh, really?" sighed Little Miss Somersault. "Who couldn't imagine life without acrobatics?" "I know it will be hard for you, Little Miss Somersault, but it's very important. I have some crutches you can use so you don't put weight on your ankle," said Mr. Bump kindly. Mr. Bump then asked if he could just get something from the kitchen. He reappeared with a bag of frozen peas, and Little Miss Somersault looked very puzzled. "You should apply an ice pack to the injury for up to 20 minutes, every 2 to 3 hours. I use a bag of frozen vegetables wrapped in a tea towel, said Mr. Bump. Little Miss Somersault smiled. So that's what they were for. I am an expert at the next stage, which is compression, continued Mr. Bump. You need to wrap a bandage around the injury to support it. With a sprained ankle, you should use a compression bandage during the day to limit the swelling. Luckily, Mr. Bump always had spare bandages with him, and he carefully put the compression bandages on little Miss Somersault's ankle before gently placing her ankle on a pillow. Finally, you need to keep your ankle raised as much as possible. This elevation above your heart may help to reduce swelling, he said. Thank you so much, Mr. Bump, said little Miss Somersault. I don't know what I would have done without you. Mr. Bump beamed with pride. He was so happy that all those bumps and bruises had meant that he could now help someone else when they were hurt. Over the next few days, little Miss Somersault followed Mr. Bump's advice, and soon her ankle was much better. She couldn't thank Mr. Bump enough. When she returned his crutches, she had wrapped them in bright-colored bandages to make him smile. On the day before the Happyland Sports Day, the park was busy with all the Mr. Men and Little Miss training for their events. Mr. Bounce looked bouncier than ever. Little Miss Somersault was delighted that she could resume her training program for the long jump event. But when she was warming up, her ankle started to hurt again. I think you might have overstretched or twisted a muscle, said Mr. Strong, who was lifting weights nearby. You should see a sports doctor to get advice on pain management. It looks like I won't be able to compete in the sports day this year, said little Miss Somersault sadly. The day of the Happyland Sports Day had arrived. The athletes were all in the position for their different events. Little Miss Quick and Mr. Rush were on the starting line for the 100-meter sprint, and Little Miss Busy and Mr. Busy were already neck and neck around the racing track. Even little Miss Somersault was there. Her sports doctor had given her all the all clear to make part in the javelin event. She watched and cheered as Mr. Bounce won the long jump event. Then little Miss Somersault threw her javelin high in the air, and she won the javelin event. They were both Happyland winners. The end. Wow, that's an interesting book, my little readers. Have you enjoyed? Do let me know. If you like this video, please give this video a big thumbs up. Subscribe to The Story Treasure. And I'll see you next time. Until we meet, please take care. Bye-bye.